Welcome to the Sound of Movement podcast. It's a big show today, something that Yanni and I and Richard are very passionate about. It's the concept of training like a specialist or like a generalist, and what do we prefer? If you've never heard about this before, you're going to want to stick around for this one. It's going to be groundbreaking.
What's up, tribe? It is Friday morning. It is Black Friday here in Australia. I know it's not quite there yet over in the US, but we are cranking things up this weekend. And first and foremost, straight up, guys, if you're listening on the podcast, and Richie's going to get the podcast up straight after this for you. If you're watching on YouTube, you're probably going to miss this, but unfortunately, welcome to you guys both. This whole weekend, Black Friday, right through to Cyber Monday, we are flash sailing an incredible lifetime opportunity to join our UMS online coaching. And we're going to talk about that more at the end of the podcast, so stick around to that. Welcome to everyone on YouTube. Smash that like button to support the channel. It does help. Leave a comment. Let us know what you think about today's discussion. And give us a 5-star review on the podcast. It helps us big time. But we want to give a special warm welcome to the tribe on the UMS Movement Mastermind private Facebook group or Facebook group. Now, this show comes off the back of a question by one of the members, Jason Conway. He's a new member since November 25th, so he's just joined the group. And he's asked a fantastic question that Rad, Richard, and myself do have a fair bit of skin in the game, sort of tackling, answering, whatever you want to call it ourselves. And we just thought, what better than to dive into this, because it frames what we're doing this weekend. It frames what we do. It's exactly why we created the unified movement system, and it just couldn't. I don't know how this happens every time we do a flash sale, but someone asks the most legit question that you couldn't script. You almost couldn't write a better question
to be able to say the answer to your question lies in what we're putting on this weekend. But
and it started a really good discussion that's gone back and forth with a bunch of the
discussion,
members,
which is why we decided to do this show. This is a really impromptu show. We literally decided that we were going to do this topic 90 seconds before we went live. But it's something that we're so passionate about. We could really talk with a mouthful of marbles underwater on this topic. So, should I read the question out?
Yeah, first of all, welcome, Richie. Just let him get a word in before you go off on your rant. How are you?
Good, guys. I'm feeling pretty good today. Again, just with the podcast, sorry that we didn't upload those last 2 episodes. You'll be getting 3 episodes today. Very, very soon. So yeah, stay tuned.
Oh, look out! And morning, Rad. Listen, if it's your first rodeo, if you've never ridden with us, the Unified Movement System, Unity Gym. My name is Yanni Baumeister. Across the table from me is my brother Rad. To my right, behind the mixer and the monitors and all the tech hardware that puts this show together, is the voice of God, Richard Lillies. I do call him another brother, a brother from another mother. We are Unity Gym and the Unified Movement System, as well as the Sound of Movement podcast and Unity TV.
Look out. All right. So here's the question that this show is based on. Jason Conway has said, "Hey tribe, would love to get everyone's 2 cents on this. Is it best to train like a generalist and be a jack of all trades, master of none, or train like a specialist and get really, really good at a particular sport, hobby, skill? I love trying new things and mixing it up rather than sticking to one thing. Thanks, Jason." So it's a great question, and it is something that we have, Yanni and I both have, and Richard, actually, I should say, we all have trained as specialists before, and we moved from that to more generalist training. And the reason why we did is because, in a nutshell, it was really when Yanni and my specialization was martial arts. I did Kung Fu for about 13 years, and Yanni's specialization was boxing and bodybuilding. And so those are 2 different specializations, but he definitely specialized in each of them at a different time.
Did them both for at least a decade. Bodybuilding for a decade, boxing for 16 years.
And when we didn't train together for a decade at all. We spent a lot of time together. We lived under the same roof. We watched each other go off to training and come back, but we didn't train together at all. We didn't see what each other could do. We just went off and did our training. And then after I got out of the army, we started training together every day, and we started to see some massive differences. Inefficiencies, yeah, and differences in what each other could do. And what really surprised us, like in a real nutshell, and we've said this before, so anybody that listens to the show, you'll know what we're saying here. But the biggest, in a real nutshell, I was at the time, I'd worked really hard on calisthenics, on doing gymnastics rings muscle ups. Took me months and months and months, and I could barely do one. So in a whole workout, I was lucky to get
no kipping.
Strict muscle up. Yeah, strict muscle up. I could barely do one, which means
anyone can do a kipping muscle up.
In an entire workout, I did maybe 3 sets of 1 rep of a strict muscle up, and I showed Yanni the technique on how to do it. He'd never done it before. I had no idea. It took him about 15 minutes to understand the technique and get his head around it. And as soon as he did 1, in the next set he did 3, and then in the next set he did 5. He just shat on me with it. And then on the same note, I'd never done weightlifting before, but because my Kung Fu had developed flexibility in my ankles, knees and hips that Yanni didn't have, when I started doing back squatting, it took less than a month before I was out squatting Yanni a lot, and same with Olympic weightlifting.
It wasn't as much the squat that upset me, it was the snatch.
The Olympic lift, yeah. I got up, Yanni showed me how to do an Olympic snatch, and I got up to a bodyweight snatch in one phase, and it was not pretty, but it was a snatch. It was. I still did a snatch. I went up in one movement and got under the bar.
By all due respects, if we were training in a gym that had an actual Olympic lifting platform and we didn't have to catch the bar on the way down, you would have got a lot stronger than that.
But even still, even going from never doing Olympic weightlifting to within 6 weeks or 4 weeks, I got in week 4. I did a bodyweight snatch. And Yanni was, I think you couldn't get over about 60 kilos, and we weighed the same. And that was an ego crushing moment for you, just like Yanni just annihilating me in muscle ups was an ego crushing moment for me. So why did this happen? Why? Because my specialization in Kung Fu made me flexible, which seriously helped Olympic weightlifting, but it made me weak. I was weak in my upper body, which made me suck at calisthenics and upper body strength. Whereas Yanni's specialization made him very, very strong, which made him really, really good at calisthenics, but not good at Olympic weightlifting. So strong in the upper body, I should say, because he didn't have the flexibility to be able to get under the bar.
I didn't have the mobility. I didn't have the ability to line up my shoulders, to stack my shoulders and get the position. And quite frankly, what stopped me from going further than, I think I worked up to my best snatch being about 75 kilos, was I just kept hurting myself.
Yeah.
I just kept injuring myself.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, you did.
And it was because I didn't have the flexibility.
And it was really hard for us because, after that, a whole bunch of other injuries came for Yanni and me. Like Yanni spoke about there, he got other lower body injuries. I developed really bad tendinopathy and wrist injuries from, again, working on other upper body calisthenics skills that I really thought I should be able to work on, but I just didn't have the conditioning to be able to do it. So the whole, the UMS was born out of the need to create a generalist approach. We realized that for us, specialization wasn't the answer. And what we're going to say is not this is our way or the highway. It depends on what your values are. If you value excelling in boxing or bodybuilding or martial arts or whatever, then be a specialist, because if you're not a specialist, then specialists are going to kick your ass in whatever it is you do. So if those are your values, go for it, do it. We're not here to tell you otherwise. But Jason's question saying, I prefer feeling like this, so what do you think I should do? Then absolutely take the generalist approach, because the generalist approach sets you up to be able to be decent at anything. The specialist approach doesn't.
Well, hang on, let's just stop for a sec. It starts with asking the question, what are your goals? What's your goal? And what's your motivation behind that goal? What's your burning desire behind that goal? And if your burning desire, like mine was when I was growing up, was to win an Olympic or Commonwealth gold medal as a boxer, for Australia, then boxing is what you do, and you do it 35, 40 hours a week. Like you are just at it. And I of course did strength training. I was allowed to do strength training twice a week. I did heavy lifting session once a week and an explosive speed strength session once a week. And I did a hell of a lot of cardiovascular exercise, running, sprints, things like that. Very quickly, before we go any further, question of the day: have you ever specialized in something, and how did it work out for you? We want to know, what was the sport, what was the thing that you specialized in? Be that, try to keep on the path of physical specialization. I don't want to know if you are a knitter or a crossword puzzle solver, or a Rubik's Cube expert. I want to know whether you have specialized in some sort of physical sport, training, pastime, hobby, passion, and how did it work out for you? Did you achieve a high level of success? Did you not? Did you hurt yourself? Did you not? Throw those in the comments section if you're watching on YouTube. Throw that in the comments if you're watching on the UMS Movement Mastermind. And so, once we go beyond the initial question, what's your goal? And then from there, what's the burning desire behind it? And I heard Rad having a talk about the concept of burning desire this morning to a bunch of the members, the tribe here at Unity Gym. And the reality is that if you say to me, I would like to be a boxer, I would like to have a boxing fight, and it's a great experience. They call it the 3 steps, the hardest 3 steps you'll ever take. 3 steps into a boxing ring, and you generally, pardon the profanity, shit yourself. You have the most intense adrenaline dump that a human being will ever experience, other than skydiving or something like that. Being in a fight, it's an intense adrenaline dump. Mm-hmm. And until you learn to deal with and manage that adrenaline dump, usually you're a terrible fighter because it tends to switch over to instinct at that point, and seldom is someone instinctively a good fighter. They certainly exist, and they generally are the people who become the world's best. But all of your training usually goes out the window once you get punched in the face the first few times, and it's very hard to settle yourself and remember what you've been taught. And so what I tend to say to people when they say, I want to have a fight, I say, why? And if it's not a real burning desire, if it's not something that you really, some people say, I just want to experience that adrenaline and that experience. And I say, oh, that's good. It's a great experience. I've had hundreds of fights in my life. I was a security guard at nightclubs, worked in some of the roughest parts of Sydney, and I used to run the door at clubs, and it's hard to avoid not getting in fights. And I also boxed for many, many years and kickboxed before that. And you need a burning desire behind it. I wanted to win an Olympic medal, and I really, really mean that. I thought that I might actually have a chance. I was pretty cocky as a young age. I never ever achieved that level. I was not good enough at it. But you ask your question. What's your goal? Okay, I want to have a fight. Why? What's the burning desire behind it? Yeah. And a good burning desire for me also was, I'd never want to be a human being, and this is a story that Rad should probably share as well. I never want to be a human being who fears another human being. I want to be someone who walks the street in full confidence, knowing that no matter what happens, as long as I don't come up against Hafthor Bjornsson, I could hold my own if I needed to defend myself and if I needed to defend my friends and family. And that comes through experiencing things where it's traumatic and you don't want to be put in that position again. You can share your story.
Oh, for sure. That was the same thing for me. When I was younger, remember when I think I was 12 and you were 10, and Dad showed us that documentary on Jackie Chan, and that's when we fell in love, both of us, with Jackie Chan movies. And there was about a 4-year period after that where we just watched every Jackie Chan movie that was out 10 times. And then you got sick of me replaying them.
Oh my God. Rad and I, you got to understand, Rad and I spent a large portion of our...
this is well before YouTube.
Of our adolescence, kicking the crap out of each other every day after school.
Yeah, we started kickboxing, and we just watched Jackie Chan
we got some. My parents bought us some headgear, some gloves, some shin pads, some forearm pads, And we used to get home from school for a fair few years and just spar. We both went to kickboxing and stuff like that, but we found a lot of benefit in literally just fighting and testing our skills. And then our dad bought some video. He's a photographer. He bought a very early adopter of video cameras, like home camcorders, the first really good ones that came out. He got a whole set he invested quite heavily in. And we used to set up a camera and film ourselves just kicking the crap out of each other. And then we'd watch it and analyze it and look back at what we were doing right and wrong. And that was such a powerful tool, And then eventually we sort of had some, like, almost a mini fight club going on at home at our house, because friends at school got the word on the street was that we were becoming quite good, and people wanted a piece of it, and so we ended up having people that did karate, and you remember that, like Lewis and guys like that. I used to remember all the guys that did karate used to be so shit at fighting, because you'd hit them once and then they'd think it was over and they'd stop and recalibrate, and you're like, man, we're going for 3 minutes. You pull your shit together, I'm going to keep hitting you.
Yeah, it was good fun. Yeah, well, yeah, it was the same thing for me though. For my motivation to start martial arts, I felt very fearful of my own safety, and I wanted to be able to defend myself, and so we went all in on it, and got a mediocre result, I guess, over the next 10 years or so. Compared to somebody that's really good at martial arts, we were mediocre.
I got such a shock when I first started going to like state titles and things like that, and where there's a lot on the line. The way that you used to be, I don't know if it still happens, I'm assuming it's the same, to get selected for a Commonwealth Games or an Olympic Games, you've got to be the national champion in your weight division of the year of selection. And so when those years come around, you can go to like a state title, or you can go to a decent level of competition and not face anyone brilliant. But on the year of a selection year, they all come out of the woodwork and they time their training really well, and you end up just getting annihilated. And it's just, you get guys who you've never seen before, never faced before. They come from country towns where they've been boxing since they were 4, in gyms where they close all the windows and turn the fans off and put a heater on, so that you are trained in the most hellish, unforeseen circumstances on the planet, and you become so accustomed to just being an absolute weapon. And I just got my ass kicked a couple of times and was like, oh my goodness, I'm so crap at this.
Yeah, good times.
Anyway,
well, look, let's have a look at what some of our members have had to say in response to Jason's question. I want to start with Stav's response.
Yep. Stav is a member of our gym.
He's a member of our gym, so he comes in and trains with me every morning at 5:30 a.m. He's very consistent, and he's achieved a lot from when he started. And his response is, he said, my 2 cents: make the UMS your training priority, and then incorporate interests/hobbies, etc. I'm at Unity 5 mornings a week, and then add a couple of BJJ classes a week at lunch or after work. Then I try to spearfish on the weekend if the conditions are good. I'm happier, fitter, more mobile, stronger, more athletic, etc. than I ever was when I only played rugby or water polo or practiced Muay Thai. And he did those 3 things at a
decent level.
At a decent level.
A few fights. He says I practice Muay Thai, but he's had a few fights. I believe he's even been over to Thailand and trained and had a few fights over there. And he did pretty well. I've seen his hand held up in a couple of Facebook photos from old school days. So,
but then if you look at what Jason, the continuation of that thread, Jason said, Stav, a nice one, mate. Sounds like a great regimen. If I can only exercise once a day, would you do 4 days of UMS? Then my hobbies like running, hiking, climbing, etc. on the other days. And Stav said, there's no hard and fast rule. It all comes down to what your goals are. And more importantly, what makes you happy. The only bad training session is the one you don't do. I really like that, because I think, Jason, if you're listening, then 4 days a week of doing the UMS is going to be life-changing for you. And if you are a generalist, like you say, then there's very little that you could do that will make you better at all the things that you like doing than becoming stronger, fitter, and more flexible.
Yeah.
Those are the 3 things that are going to move your progress in everything that you do, and also going to set you up to be able to do things that you don't train for, but be able to get through it. Like, for example, a hike. Like, a lot of people won't train for a hike, and they'll decide, I'm going to go hiking this weekend. And the person that's been in the gym, that's been training barefoot, training their ankles, training their joints, training their fitness, their cardio, endurance, they're going to go for a hike. And they're going to go through it, and they're going to be all right. I remember, I did when I was training to be a stuntman 20 years ago or so, and I'd been doing martial arts at the time full on for about 4 or 5 years. And so my level of flexibility was okay, and my strength in my lower body was far better than most people. So end range strength. That's one of the things that Kung Fu develops quite well. And I went out and did this rock climbing and abseiling course, a 2-day rock climbing and abseiling course, where we went up to the Blue Mountains, and we had this unbelievably freakish professional rock climber taking us for 2 days through rock climbing and abseiling, because you had to learn how to do it as part of being a stuntman. And there was this one climb that we did where, it was amazing to watch a professional climber free climb this wall that was 50 meters high, and he free climbed up about 25 meters before he put the first belay point in, and we were just looking at him going, oh my God, if this dude falls now, he's gone. Yeah. But he just scaled it like a monkey anyway. And so then we had the ropes on and set up, and I was the first one to go. And I did that, I was on the wall, and it's a wall, it's a rock wall, so there's no finger holds. You got to look where you're going to go. And I looked at this spot where I could get my foot, and I lifted my foot right up, so my knee was right up near my hip, and I planted my foot and, pushed up. And for me, it was really, really easy. I was like, no, that was just a move to get up there. And I remember hearing the guys that were just below me, that were 4 meters below me, laughing and going, oh my God, I'm not going to be doing that. And it didn't dawn on me that what I was doing was expressing my flexibility and my strength in something else that I'd never done before. And then when I watched these guys do it, they didn't stand a chance of doing the moves that I did. And I was an amateur rock climber. Yeah. Like, I went through all the basic stuff that an amateur rock climber goes through that weekend. Like, my arms just went to shit because I didn't use my legs enough, but I could still do these things that those guys didn't have a chance at because of my strength and flexibility. Yeah.
And I've had an experience lately, like I have, when you become conditioned to a martial art or fighting or boxing, one of the first things that happens is that your hands become a lot more conditioned than an average person. And most of my adult life, I have the conditioning in my hands that I could literally punch a brick wall or a concrete wall almost as hard as I wanted to and not break something, okay? It might bruise up a little bit. I might get a little bit of an effusion where it swells a little bit, but I could comfortably do that, Now, I've since been doing UMS and really working on a balance in building a foundation of strength, flexibility, and fitness. I've since gone back to doing some boxing and on the heavy bag, and I'm yet to bring my hands up to the conditioning where I can hit the bag as hard as I want to. I can move quicker, more explosively, and I can hit probably twice as hard as I used to. Now, I had a reputation at boxing where I wasn't the best fighter, I wasn't the best boxer, but I had the most superior punch by any means, by anyone. And I used to have to spar people that were in the weight division 10 kilos heavier than me, because no one in my weight division really wanted to get punched that hard. And so that's saying something, like I certainly don't have the timing and the skill of a really good fighter anymore, but I've definitely improved my striking power and speed, and so
it's the same with me with kicking. I'm better at kicking now without having practiced kicking for 10 years. I can kick hard and fast and high better than I was when I was doing martial arts. Yeah. Because the motor patterns are there. The way of moving your body is ingrained in me. Yeah. But the flexibility and the strength, it was never there like it is now. And I can do it so much better than I used to.
Absolutely. Very quickly, do you want to do read one more comment, maybe Ben Lodge's, before we have to wrap up, because we've got our online coaching.
I think Tom Woods is going to be probably more relevant. So Tom Wood has said, your body needs variety in all types of movement. To focus on one type whilst neglecting others leads to injury, and personally I think should be avoided unless it's your profession. Bodybuilding,
idea of bodybuilder, etc. Yep.
I started focusing on pure strength and got really strong, but also injured. I then focused on pure flexibility and then didn't have the strength at the new end ranges. I've also done pure bodyweight training. For me, the UMS has everything. Gets rid of all the imbalances whilst building a great foundation. Then combines calisthenics, weight training, and flexibility. You can also swap workouts to aim towards specific goals, for example, handstand, muscle-ups, etc., whilst training all other body parts. Do what you love. If this is some form of martial art and you want to be the best at it, go for it. But just add in some additional training around it to stay balanced, which is a really, really good. And then Ben has said, if only there was an effective, efficient system to build general health and function to use as a springboard to go after your specialist goals. And then he says in brackets, it's the UMS.
And this is what I'm talking about all the time. You know, remember the training we do in the gym, guys, not the boxing ring, not the mixed martial arts cage, not the rock climbing wall. The training we do in the gym is purely to build a foundation, an athletic foundation that you can deploy in your said or chosen passion or sport or hobby, if you may. And this is the most important thing to understand. You must, and I know this now because I know what I know, you must train to build that foundation. It's very, very important. And I used to box and do my 2 strength training sessions. And over the years, I actually developed quite inefficient physique. You know, my shoulders rounded, my posture was compromised, and I was more susceptible to injury. And what ended up happening, what hung up my gloves at 30 years old was not that I didn't want to box anymore. It's not that I'd achieved everything I desired in that sport. It was that I perforated my tricep tendon so severely that I was out for ages, and I just lost interest because it ended up coming back over and over again. When I threw a hard overhand right, my tricep would tear again. And it wasn't because my body gave out, it was because I didn't know what I was doing at the time, and I stuffed up or compromised my posture. You know, so the training should provide the perfect athletic foundation.
Yep.
And then you can deploy that however you see fit, however you want, you know.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. So listen, guys, if you've been watching these shows and sitting on there from a sideline and wondering what this what the Kool-Aid is that is the UMS online coaching, now is your chance for the next 72 hours to jump in, get a free 2-week trial. And then if you continue after that, you'll have a lifetime rate of $49 a month instead of the usual $97 a month. This is a no-brainer. I can guarantee you will not be able to get this deal again until this time next year. So this is the time to set yourself up for a 2021 like no other. Don't miss out, get it. And everyone from the UMS online coaching group, jump on over for our live coaching call. Everyone else, we'll see you guys on Monday.
Have a great weekend, guys. Happy Thanksgiving to all the people in America who are just finishing the day. And yeah, we'll see you all on Monday, Sydney time here in Australia. Health is about performance, not just body image.
You better be willing to accept what you're going to have to do to get there.
We'll start focusing on movement goals, strength goals, flexibility goals.
When you nail that skill, it's there forever.
The body image goal doesn't get you that
It's
far.
the consistency and frequency that's going to get you there. It's not the intensity.
There's no shortcuts to mastery and movement. Destination doesn't change overnight, but your direction will.
The gym is not the place to beat up the body that you hate. It's the place to build the body that you love.
We are the gym that teaches people how to move instead of just exercise, because we believe that health is about performance, not just body image.